Why did you land on data as your
Yeah.
absolute ground?
So data in the sense of it being uninterpreted information, right? So I think the reason for landing on non-contingency kind of makes sense in that that's what the ground has to be. The ground has to be something necessary, something foundational, something that transcends physicality, that transcends contingency. And the idea of identifying it with, because data obviously specifically names information as a type of information or maybe a precursor to information. And so my thought is that everything that you can think of is made of information. And that's what I originally derived from the cogito. And then I make the assumption or comes in the thought that the world is there before you're there to look at it. You know, our scientific picture of the cosmos tells us pretty clearly that planets were forming before there was ever life. And we have like quite a sophisticated picture of the history of the cosmos that places life in an extremely limited window. And in general, I think that this principle is a reliable guide to thinking about the world. So one analogy I often like is that of fossils. When you dig up a fossil, do you make it be there by digging it up, or was it there before you came along to dig it up? That's how you were able to discover it, right? The usual intuition is that it's already there. That's how it's possible to find it in the ground. And you know, another example I like is you can imagine some corner of the world no human's ever been to. Let's say it's a wasteland. The conditions don't permit any kind of life, and there's this frozen lake there or something. The water has properties, right? And those properties are constitutive of the nature of that environment and don't rely on consciousness in order to have the properties that they do, in order to be the way that they are, rather. So my thought is that information, that's really what we name it when we've perceptually assimilated it and used it to tell us about what the world is like. You know, it informs us about the nature of things. And prior to that, it just sits there dormant in a way. And I call that dormant information data. The information prior to being assimilated by a perceptual agent, I call that data. And so the thought is basically that stuff that the world is made of when people aren't looking at it, you know, at the bottom of things, that's non-contingent. And that's the most general form of like thingness that we really know how to talk about is this information. But then the reason I transfer from information to data is that subtracts the notion of being perceptually assimilated, which doesn't seem necessary for the data to exist.